This is Coffee with Creators, episode 17. I'm Xerxes. With me is Shalini, and she's the founder for Women in Tech. She also guides Kundalini Yoga and a lot of other things, which we're all going to find out right now. But first, Shalini, where are you from? Your name's Indian, but you just
Yes.
said that this is your first time in India, living in India, rather.
Yes.
So give us a little background so that everyone knows who you are, what you do.
Sure. So I was born in England and I lived in
Okay.
England up until age 11. And then I moved to America. So my
Okay.
parents had an arranged marriage, but then they divorced. My mother's side of the family is all in Singapore. And my dad was actually born here in India. And then my dad moved over to the US for several years before my brother and I moved. So I lived
Okay.
in Miami, Florida for 10 years. That's where I went to high school, university, all of that. Then I moved to San Francisco. Then I was in New York. And then most recently in America, I lived in LA. And I work primarily as a mindset and embodiment coach. I also guide yoga, Kundalini inspired yoga sessions and meditations that are essentially all energy work, connecting your being with the infinite, or whatever languaging resonates most with that. And with that work, I can do it anywhere. I'm an English citizen and I'm an American citizen, but I'm 100% Indian. I speak Punjabi, and my Hindi is finally getting better living in this country.
I
And
would really challenge that, but my Hindi is no good. So,
okay, another time we'll practice and do another live in Hindi one day. And yeah, I mean, obviously with the deepening of my yoga and meditation practice, so much of that wisdom comes from this land. My ancestors are from this side of the world. So because I've created that freedom of, wherever I open my laptop is my office for the day. And most of my work is Zoom calls, voice notes. And then I guide workshops and retreats wherever I happen to be in person. Yeah, I mean, I've created a life where I have this freedom, and so I came to India because I was living in Bali for most of 2019, and then I just had this clear hit of spend time in the motherland, spend time literally with the land, create soul fam there. And when I was a kid, I never came to India as a child or as a teenager, and now I live here, you know what I'm saying? And it's been such a powerful journey, like so much magic has unfolded living here. And yes, I'm heading to New York soon, but that does not mean that my India chapter is done, I'll come back when things are just a little more harmonious here energetically.
wow, that's been like an around the world thing. But you said you open your laptop and that's work.
Yeah.
So wherever you open, it becomes your workplace. So what do you do? Like you also founded this thing called Women in Tech.
Yes.
How are you connected to that? I mean, you can obviously write about women in tech if you are a woman in tech. So are you also one of them, or
Yes.
is it an offshoot? What's the story?
Sure. So my background is tech and media. So primarily now I work in the personal development space, or whatever you want to call it, the energy space, the ascension space. And my background is tech and media. I used to work at Crispin Porter and Bogusky, which is one of the largest ad agencies. And then when I moved from Miami to San Francisco, I worked in ad tech for a few years. And my roles in tech have always been very people focused. So community building, business development, etc., strategy, those kinds of roles. And I worked at a company called Angel Hack. And what we did is we organized coding competitions, hackathons. So my life, when I lived in San Francisco, every other weekend I was not only producing these large hackathons, which would attract like 200, 300 software developers, product managers, people who are spending their weekend to come together and build apps, build products, come up with solutions. I was producing these events, getting the sponsors for these events, getting our judges, like getting the local community excited. And I was also, with my English accent, like Americans eat that up. So I was also emceeing these events. So, with that, when I was spending time there, I just witnessed time and time again that I was one of very few women, and even smaller percentage women of color in these spaces. And that's where the seed was planted of like, okay, how can I help be a bridge so that there's more pathways of diversity in these spaces of abundance? And yes, abundance as in, yeah, there's a lot of money in tech. Great. I mean abundance more so in mindset, in that space of, okay, we're faced with a problem here. How can we come up with a solution? Okay, you're a genius in this way. You're a genius in this way. I know how to do this. Let's collaborate. Let's build. Like that kind of energy, that being available and accessible and known to people of different backgrounds. So I moved from San Francisco to New York because I personally was craving more diversity. It was a lot of just white male, privileged energy there. And admittedly, this is also my doing, in that my work life became my social life. Like I was going to hackathons and tech conferences, and I wasn't necessarily going to plays and meeting musicians and doing that. So I moved to New York, where it's like diversity is a given. You hear different languages, you meet people of all kinds of backgrounds. So when I lived in New York, I worked at the world's first coding school, Dev Boot Camp. And what I really, so a boot camp, back in the day, if you wanted to be a software developer, you had to get your 4-year degree in computer science. And then if you wanted to extend from that, awesome. Nowadays, if you want to learn how to code, you can literally Google it. You can find an online course. You can find a boot camp. And if you really dedicate your time and you show up in a devotional way, after 3 months, you can absolutely get a job as a junior software developer. So my role, this was the world's first coding school. Now there's definitely hundreds and thousands around the world. And my role is I was getting our graduates jobs. So in a competitive city like New York, I was getting people prepared for the job market. And there's something called imposter syndrome. So some people, they've never said the sentence out loud, I'm a software developer, or I built this. Perhaps they were librarians before, or bartenders, or nurses before, or whatever. And, so that's also where coaching first came into my field, where I was working with people where it's like, get rid of the lack story in your mind, really witness what magic you are, and own your skills. There's no rule book of hello, Silicon Valley, you don't have to get an MBA to start a company. So many of those are like Stanford dropouts. And now you're getting people who are in their early teens starting businesses. There's no formula of how to reach your purpose. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I started Women in Tech while I was in New York. I had this space, and just for some context, I put myself through university, and for anybody to be drawn to the kind of path around healing, personal development, you're obviously drawn to that path because you've had quite the journey of life yourself. And I'm so grateful for this path. It's been such a gift, and I've come across so many powerful tools and practices that have been instrumental in my own practice. And it's such an honor and a privilege to also not only be a practitioner, but also hold the space as a teacher, as a guide. And I've done lots of work around the throat chakra to express, and I guide meditations, but it's not me. It's not like me, Shalini Sarena, that's writing what my meditation is going to look like. I get out of the way. I know that you have some experience with meditation as well, just clearing the channel from my crown to my root, inviting in, again, whatever you want to call it, light, infinite energy, source energy, and it uses me as the vessel, and I'm honored to be in service in this way. So that's when Women in Tech started, which essentially is a media platform where we highlight women in the tech space. And when we first started, there was this whole series of Mothers in Tech Mondays, Tech Tuesdays, where you would meet a woman who's specifically in a tech role, like product engineering, Wellness Wednesdays, etc. And tech is still a very big part of my life. Here we are, tech. If it wasn't for tech, we wouldn't be able to connect in this way. What a gift, Sure. However, my purpose has expanded beyond that. My co-founders in New York, we have a whole team. I'm not as involved in the operations anymore. I still bring in partnerships and, still involved. However, my primary purpose has evolved, where I am here as an agent of the divine. And I know that a lot of people feel resonance with me, and I'm here to share share my truth and to be in service and essentially be a mirror to help activate people who feel a resonance with me to bring in the same kind of, you know, connected frequency in their own field, within their own lives.
So, you did mention that you do not land up going into the spiritual realm unless you've had a journey, uh,
Yeah.
a journey which is like takes you all over. But now that I mean, still seem fairly young and you've quite a lot left ahead of you. And you already say that you've gone through a massive journey at this point of time. But
Yeah.
and tech's still an active part of your life, and then there is the energy realm. How
Yeah.
are the two blending in the first place, especially considering like techies are an entire thing. Techies are a different genre of people altogether. Forget mindset. And then there are the ones who live in the spiritual realm, and that's a different mindset altogether. And then
Totally.
here you are in the middle of both forming a thread. How is that working out?
Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of these paths. It doesn't have to be extremist. Like, I know sometimes there's this visual, like, okay, if you're spiritual, does that mean you're a monk and you sit in the mountains for 20 years and you take a vow of silence? And listen, there are some people that do that, and that is powerful for their own journey and you know, the energetics that they are sharing with the collective through their sadhana like that. And then, you know, on the flip side, yeah, in the tech space that I was in the thick of it during the time where it was so normalized, where it's like, oh, I was in the office till 2 a.m. or, oh, I forgot to eat dinner. Oh, I've been pushing code until 3 a.m., where that was kind of glamorized, where this overworking burnout culture, where actually when you're living in alignment, like of course, like we are capable human beings. We're able to learn new languages and learn new skill sets, and it's fun to do things, but it really doesn't have to be a chore. It doesn't have to be something that exhausts you. When you're living in alignment, you also become a magnet. And I'm sure many of you have had these kinds of scenarios where it's like, oh, you're thinking about something or you're learning a new topic, and wow, you meet somebody who's been on that path for many years, or a friend introduces you to someone that you're going to collaborate with, and there's a beautiful harmony. That is you amplifying your magnetic field and becoming, which literally magnetizing these aligned opportunities into your field. However, our external reality is a reflection of the thoughts and the beliefs that we hold. So if we believe, oh no, life is hard, like I have to work really hard and it has to be hectic if I need to make it to this point, then that is going to be what unfolds.
Reality.
And exactly. And what I'm here and many others that I'm so grateful to have in my soul fam is like, there gets to be a middle path. Like, we are spirit souls having a human experience. Like, first and foremost, I mean, I am not Shalini Sarena. I am not this eye shape or skin color or haircut, right? Like, we're energy. We're so beyond our thoughts, our physical. Like, that's first and foremost. However, we are spirit souls having a human experience. So we get to walk that middle path, and having a human experience, like, yeah, it's a challenging journey. Like, there are definitely human emotions and experiences. Like, again, we're spirit souls. Like, just like you and I, if we wanted to play a game and it's like, oh, let's play frisbee, let's play tic-tac-toe. We're quantum creators. So we created this game called the human game. And obviously we didn't make an easy game for us. Like, we're brilliant. We made a very complex and challenging game for ourselves. And so the way that I am in both worlds, and by the way, I also act and model. Like, I've been in Vogue a few times, and I was in a feature film recent, small roles, but just as fun for me to just like play in that space of expression. Like, I'm all about that. Let's like not put ourselves in boxes, because we're multifaceted. In fact, we're multidimensional. So let's play in that space. So primarily, I'm grateful to again, the personal development space, like whatever you want to call it, you know, I'm the energetic space. Like I as mentioned, I'm guiding a Kundalini series right now. I've hosted lots of transformational retreats around the world. I guide workshops around several topics: mindfulness, journaling, intention setting. Like, again, because it's not me. Like, I have a lot of integrated wisdom, thank you, but it's not mine. I'm just here to be a channel, and yeah, that's how I marry the both. And who knows what else will come through? You know what I'm saying? It's like staying in that openness and witnessing the signs and being like, oh, this excites me now, you know, and oh wow, this showed up in my field for a reason. Like witnessing the signs and playing a little bit, having some lightness.
And okay, I kind of believe that yes, we are spiritual beings
Yeah,
playing a human game.
yeah,
In a lot of ways, we create our own trauma and drama to entertain ourselves sometimes. Sometimes we're attracted to it, sometimes we're just bored and we call for it. But what do you say about Corona? This whole debacle that's going on right now. I know that in the, at least a little bit of what I know, in the energy realm, it's just something else altogether versus um, how, as humans, the humanoids, we're dealing with it.
so the question is, what do I think about corona? Is there anything in
Or
specific, like in
I
general?
don't know. I mean, I'm not fishing for answers. I'm not fishing for a controversial statement at this point of time because I know anything that we say can and will be taken against us in the court of law. But I'm thinking more in the lines of what does your awareness tell you about it? This is purely a personal point of view.
Yeah.
Like somewhere it does feel a little blown up. At least if I had to put my POV out there. But I don't know, like, what's your awareness value? Considering I'm 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 not that spiritual as a person. I'm not
Yeah.
that out there. I'm not in touch. What does your awareness tell you?
Sure. So, what comes up for me around this topic is firstly just setting the tone that we are witnessing an old system crumble before our eyes. An
Mm-hmm.
old order that was connected to patriarchy, that was connected to war, that was connected to greed consciousness. We're literally witnessing that crumble. Thanks to gifts like the internet and thanks to Soul Fam that is waking up and being like, hold on, I'm not a zombie. I'm a quantum creator. I choose not to let this fear consciousness into my field. And by the way, that is our greatest contribution to the collective, is our energetic frequency. That is the highest contribution we can give. So I know in these dense times, it's like, what is happening to our world? And it can be very easy to get into this state of like, woe is me, and oh no, this happened, and doom and gloom. And listen, I'm not saying to bypass those emotions and pretend like a lot of trauma like isn't shaking through the earth right now. Like honor those emotions, but when you break down that word emotion, it stands for energy in motion. Emotion. So it's just energy in motion. If sadness comes through, if anger comes through, move it through. Energy in motion, move it through. Move it through some dance that you do. You're really stomping and you're like shaking that energy out of you, or a certain song, and you get back into your heart, you get back into your joy. That's your responsibility to transmute that energy. Like you're a quantum creator. You are not that fear programming. However, because we are, an old system is literally crumbling before our eyes, and a new system of new earth, you know, love, unity, and oneness consciousness. Like this is being anchored right now, the Aquarian age. And this isn't like, oh, you know, from one day to the next, like it's all rainbows and butterflies right now. Just like when you are planting a new garden and if there's weeds in the soil, you got to rip the weeds out, and that's going to take some time. You don't just like snap your fingers and the weeds just disappear. You got to put on your gloves, get into the garden, and rip out the weeds. And as you rip out the weeds, that affects the soil. The soil is like, oh, okay, something's moving, and that's what we're moving through right now. We're in that phase,
Of
okay?
change.
And the thing is, we can handle it. Like, we wouldn't have chosen to incarnate at this time if we couldn't handle it. So everything that is happening right now, it's trusting in the highest good of all, that this is happening for a reason. And you know, there are these cycles. Like there are storms and there are beautiful sunrises and rainbows. Like that's just a part of nature. You know, there is death, there is rebirth, and this time is a powerful opportunity. Like, we're all at home, you know, like this is a powerful opportunity that if in the past, if we were really distracted of like, oh, with this distraction or like this thing with work or this alcohol or drug or partying flow, like now anything that you may have been distracting yourself with, like some story, or just facing yourself, witnessing your mind and allowing yourself to really like face off with what's coming up, you know, like again, this path is not, you know, it's not just like ta-da, you're enlightened, you know, it's a lot of shadow work as well. But the thing is, it's important to move through it. Again, you can handle it. Like this is the path, you know, coming back to love, moving through the fear density consciousness, which is not yours. Like that's what the collective is moving through right now. It's not yours. If you're resonating with this message, you're a light worker. You recognize you're a quantum soul. And so just, you know, in these times, do the work to nourish yourself, love upon yourself, gift yourself joy. Like this is your birthright, you know what I'm saying? Like even in these times, even if you're at home, even if someone really close to you passed, like, yes, go through those motions, and honor that. That's how life is, you know what I'm saying? Like there are many things that are out of our control, like, you know, and doing the work to accept, release, and then come back to love, come back to your center.
Wow, that went way deeper than I expected. Thanks. I'm just reeling it in a little bit right now. Okay, little lighter. Someone said they, like in the comments a little while back. I'm just gonna completely switch because I am
Cool.
unable to handle this amount of energy flow right now. Um, they saw you DJing in Bali. Do you also DJ?
Lol, they saw me DJing. No, I'm not a DJ, but I love to dance. I love to sing. I love to express. You know, so maybe I was like behind the DJ booth with friends, maybe. You know,
Yeah,
I used
what?
to live in Miami, so I'm all about that. Like, and I choose not to drink. I have zero judgment on, you know, other people and where they're at in their journey. But I don't drink, but I can be right at the front of the dance floor, singing all the words, just like grooving. But that's funny. Now, I used to live in Bali. I did my yoga teacher training in Bali in 2016, and since then I've lived quite nomadically, right?
Okay.
Like a few months here, a few months there, and Bali is a place that I consistently went back to, and India.
And how has your experience been living in India for the last year and a half, right in the thick of a pandemic?
Totally. So powerful, so powerful. I mean, so as we were speaking earlier, you were like, you know, if you're drawn to this path, like it's like you've been through a certain journey. Like one thing I appreciate about Indian culture is this energy of family, like just family energy. You take care of one another. There's this warm, heart chakra focused energy. And you know, growing up, I wasn't really connected to my Indian culture. Like my middle name is Serena, and when I moved from England to America, I actually went by Serena because my brother and I, we would get bullied a lot, you know, just kids, they don't know, like they're just like, go back to your country, you terrorists, these kinds of things. And we just felt
Really?
like, yeah, so we were like, okay, we're too much of the other, how can we just like blend in a bit? So my brother's name is, well, his name is Stefan Sandeep, but he doesn't go by Sandeep, he goes by Stefan. And I for many years went by Serena. My father also formally changed his name from Sukhminder to Simon Bahad, you know, etc. And so I didn't have much like Indian community growing up, because I moved from England to Miami, and most of my community in Miami is Hispanic. I learned Spanish living in Miami, and so my parents divorced, and then my father remarried, and that was also a divorce, a really messy divorce. And my former stepmother was about like 23, 24 when she became my stepmom, and she was bipolar, and living under her roof was really challenging as a teenager. So I knew education would be a powerful ticket for me, just of freedom. And so I got literally 5 scholarships to university at age 16. And so I was just in my books and like focused on work, like working 3 jobs, all these things. And then as mentioned, as my spiritual practice deepened, it was like, hold on, this like whole wisdom is literally in my blood, in my DNA. I would love to get a stronger grasp on everything, like the culture, the resonance, all of that. So yeah, I was in a relationship in 2019 in Bali. And as that was coming to a close, I've spent lots of time in Bali. I was just like, let me head to the motherland. Like there's so much warm energy there. And as I landed, so I was guiding it was actually, I remember so specifically, it was a full moon in Virgo, which is my sun sign. And it was the first time I was guiding ceremony space for men and women. Previously to that, I had done lots of focused women's work, right? Women in tech, and a lot of the meditation circles and ceremony space that I was guiding in Bali, mainly for women. And I still love doing women's focused work, and like I've moved beyond that layer of separation. We're all one. We all have the masculine, feminine qualities within us. So that was the first time I was doing a ceremony for men and women. There were like 70 people at Soho House. And the next day was Holi. I was heading to Rajasthan for the first time. There I had a shoot, my first shoot in a sari. Those pictures ended up in Vogue. And then when I landed back, like all this momentum was unfolding, and Corona's unfolding, and so people are heading back to their home cities, their home countries. But what is my home? Is it England? Is it America? Like, no, I've been nomadic for 5 years. Home is my breath. It's not connected to anything external. Like, home is wherever I be. And right now, I'm being blessed up by India. Why would I leave this place? Why would I be in resistance to that? So even though I don't have family here, like I never came to India as a child or as a teenager, but again, just blessed up from the people that I was meeting, the friendships. Oh my goodness. My heart is just like warm when I reflect on all the beautiful friendships that have unfolded in my life, like living here, like, true soul brother, soul sister, soul other. And so when this went down, I was like, all right, fine, I'll just get an apartment, like I'll figure it out. I'm in Bombay. And remember in the early days of Corona where it's like, oh, I guess this will be a thing for a few months. Things will go back to normal by the summer. So that's why I was in Bombay first. And then when it came to like June, July, I was like, I love Bombay, okay? I love that creative, like, energy. I'm very 50-50. I love my nature time, and I can hang in the cities. I like that momentum. I'm heading to New York soon. So, but the thing is with Bombay, like nature, I want to feel nature. I'm an earth sign. I want to like feel the ocean and like have my hands on the flowers and on the grass and like breathe with nature. So after some time in Bombay, I shifted to Goa, and I was in North Goa first. And I was living in Asagaon. I was teaching Kundalini Yoga at the W Hotel. I guided a beautiful retreat with Vayu, which is an oceanfront property in Mandalay. Right. And now I'm in South Goa, and I have a home right here on the river. And it's a very different vibe. It's very quiet, and it's been amazing. It's been a gift in many ways. However, again, I just got a clear hit. It was during the cyclone. Do you remember the cyclone a few weeks back?
Yeah.
Yeah, so during that, I was like without power, without anything, and I just like deeper inner contemplation time. And it was like, yeah, during the cyclone is where it came up to say, there was just an inner message that said, all right, it's time to close this India chapter for now. And yeah, totally. And I'm so glad that I've created a life where I can listen to that inner compass, and then I can take action on what my intuition is saying.
That is excellent. I'm glad we got to speak while you're there in India. I mean, It's a shame we didn't get to meet when you were in Bombay, but better late than never.
For sure.
This has been an interesting conversation. You want to give me a little bit of, like, I mean, I know yoga, but I don't know what Kundalini Yoga is. So,
yeah.
And you teach people and you guide people. You said something about some ceremony.
Yes.
Please, I have no idea what any of these terms are. I don't know how many people watching these know. So maybe you could sum that up for us, and then maybe I could take your leave.
Sure. So, I mean, the greatest ceremony is life itself. The way that you choose to wake up, and when you step on your mat or you're doing your breath work, like calling it a ceremony is just inviting a deeper layer of devotion to the present moment. So I study astrology, numerology, gene keys. There's so many different powerful paths, and wisdoms that are available to us. And so I've been guiding consistent new moon and full moon ceremonies. And essentially what is done is, I will set up a beautiful flower mandala in the middle to remind us of that sacred geometry that is in everything, reminding us of that oneness. And you see this gorgeous flower mandala with all these flower petals, and it's like, wow, nature made this beautiful color of this fuchsia pink and yellow, and it's just like you enter the space and it's like there's this sacred energy there, just like when you enter a temple or anywhere, a forest, right? Again, life is the ceremony. And so then around that there are like little cushions, and people will sit in a circle, and I'll open the ceremony. Again, these are just words, you know what I'm saying? Like you can do this
By
you
yourself, but
totally. Yeah,
but people's ADHD and all of that kicks in, and they're just like, "Oh, what new show on Netflix? I'm gonna do that." Like they need someone to sit them down and be like, "Now, close your eyes."
So I love holding ceremony space because it's also welcome for people that have never, I've never meditated before, and it's not like something you're trying to figure out there. Oh, I've never meditated, I got to figure it out. It's this thing over there. You know at your core what feeling peaceful feels like. Like what feeling in a shant, that here. So it's not something you're trying to figure out there. It's a remembering.
Has been a very interesting conversation, and Shalini has left the chat, but you guys should check out her profile, follow her, ask her. She does online guiding sessions as well. And yeah, this is me, Xerxes, and this was Coffee with Creators, episode 17. We'll be back on Monday with a brand new guest. Hope you guys had fun. Thank you for joining in. Signing out. Bye.